Hi, folks. I'm John Webb. Welcome to our podcast.
I am Jeff Kernen. I am the Planning and Development Manager for the City of Coburg. I've been with the City of Coburg going on 6 years, and the City of Coburg was established, not incorporated, but established in the 1850s. The design standards related to residential dwellings in this subdivision for this lot and around here and throughout the entire city are based on aspects of the golden years of Coburg, which are the 1880s and 1920s. It's not a model after any specific type of architecture or style or anything like that. It's more of a parts of that era that the community over the years wanted to have in the look and feel of the neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And this subdivision here actually is located where the old mill was and the mill pond, and so it's in the historic district boundaries, that is, but definitely looks different than it did during the golden years. Some of the standards that are really important to the city are not being able to see the garage as a very particular feature of the house, and instead of, the porch. Porch is really important to this community. It's more of a walking kind of say hi to your neighbor and wave kind of place instead of being super private. And that's sort of, they try to reflect that in the standards over the years. Our standards, design-wise, and the look and feel are pretty different than many other jurisdictions around here. It's at least what some of the developers are used to building in. So I immediately look at the elevations and make sure that all the right elements that we're looking for and our minimums are there before we move on to anything else, because I'd rather figure something out ahead of time before we get too far down the road in a review or something like that. So making sure that I hit the major ones that people particularly might not look for in their design. Some of the most difficult parts of the planning department in a very small jurisdiction like this, which is similar in other small jurisdictions, I'm sure, is that there's not a lot of time to focus on something for a long period of time. Although it's not as busy as a bigger city, you get a varying array of questions on any given day or hour. So juggling all the different responsibilities is probably the most difficult role. In Coburg, the building permit program is within the planning department. I manage it as the head of the planning department. And so what that means is we don't perform all the duties. We manage the contract that does perform those duties. So we get regular updates from our building official, inspectors, reviewers, that sort of thing. We help schedule things if needed, but really we try to stay away while the building is going on, the actual construction is going on. There are things that come up, like almost every project has a question that I'm going to need to look at, like, if there's a change in the design or something like that, or how does the septic tank going to fit, because it's a weird system here. Mm-hmm. So it's as needed. I don't, as somebody who is really more about the regulation and interpreting that, I try to just not step in somewhere when I don't need to. I lean heavily on our building official and our public works director for the expertise that they have over the years. Our septic system is what we call a hybrid system. It's a STEP system, STEP is an acronym that I don't remember all the words it stands for, but what it basically is there's still a tank on site, like your typical sort of old septic system, but we have a wastewater treatment plant that is north of town, and so the solids stay on site, the liquids go to the treatment plant. And the city, in deciding to go this direction with this type of a system, took ownership in all those tanks and those pumps. So once the homes are done and everything's installed on a new home, we take ownership of that through an easement, and we're responsible for maintaining, responding, and pumping. So it's a lot of maintenance and time from our public works department and that sort of system, but we have some accountability that way too. And it's something to get used to, that's for sure, especially in the newer neighborhoods that didn't go through the whole project 6 years ago or 7 years ago, whatever it was. Getting used to just a whole new system. So I think there's one other, maybe two others in the state that are like this, and our public works director leans heavily on those two spots when there's some strange things that might come up. This particular lot, there is a power easement that is very wide. I think the entire easement is 50 feet, 37 and a half feet on this property. And we don't do a lot of communicating ongoing with the private companies. We got the information in the beginning, letting us know what the developer can expect and where to kind of turn them to, and sort of a minimum look at it. But really, once we have identified that somebody's interested in a property that has a significant easement like this, we put them in touch with the power company right away, because I'd rather them speak for themselves than try to miss something in translation. The existing conditions, of course, are pretty interesting. As I mentioned about the easement, the power easement that really doesn't allow any structures. I think there's some give about some sort of fencing and whatever, but main structures you can't build, and that's a significant portion of this lot. That's the first hurdle for a designer developer to get by in this lot. Although it is large, finding place for a yard is pretty difficult in this one. So that was pretty interesting when I first saw the design, that you're basically kind of reversing, putting sort of the leisure, relaxing space in the front yard was the way to get around the needed design for this. So that was pretty interesting, I thought. And other lots in this subdivision have also done something similar, which is create a sort of side entry garage, which helps save some space as well, and gets around some of our design standards in the proper way. So the layout and site plan was the most interesting to me, and that's really, to be honest, that's one of the only things I ever see is the paper, not the product. One of the things that I find most interesting is the creativity of the design that got us here. I'm sitting upstairs right now, and it's quite fascinating to see from the initial designs that, because this wasn't maybe just the site plan layout. I don't know about the design interior or anything like that. It wasn't the first one that I saw. We had to talk through some things and make sure, because we not only do we have this easement that we've got to deal with, but we've got setbacks that are nothing too strange, but those have to be dealt with. And we also have our fence requirements and things like that, and maximums on things. So I found it interesting that that the design team, I'm sure there's a few people that were involved, were just willing to just keep going and be creative about it. And that's the best thing about it. And this whole neighborhood has some really, unique homes, and this just in a really unique way, because of the layout and restrictions, adds to it even more. So that's fascinating to me.
Thanks for checking out the podcast. Click subscribe and stay safe.